You're mute. Turn on the mic.
Okay. You can hear me?
Perfect.
I'm so sorry. I don't mess around with my computer very much anymore. My mouth is sticking together. So I lose my touch of getting rapid progress on any project, including get into satsang. Now, Vasilina called me twice this morning to get a link to me, but I couldn't open my email for a similar reason. So thank you, Vasilina, but it's my fuck up. Does anybody want to yell at me?
Yeah, me, I want to yell at you.
Yeah, I'll bet you. How much money did I cost you?
I don't know, but it's just so frustrating that it's something simple, but I don't see what you're doing or what you're not doing, and I can't really help you, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? You know, I think the West spends altogether too much time trying to understand things. And they start thinking. But boy, if you only learn how to let go of your mind, just relax totally and sink into your body. At that time, there'll be no thoughts in your mind at all. You'll just feel very empty and hollow inside. And then at some point, inside and outside will merge, and everything is one. Many of you already know this. But this morning, I got caught because I have such a complex computer. And sometimes it stumps me, even to do the simplest thing. Also, my mind is deteriorating over time. I enjoy that because it doesn't bother me as much. Despite the last 25 minutes of mad rush trying to figure things out, all I have to do is relax into my body. And I sink into myself. And you practice sinking into yourself. I can't give you clear instructions on how to do it. I can just tell you that's what you should do now. When you're really sunk into your body, you feel very, very, very rested. And you seem very large. And you feel like a mountain, because the strength of experiencing yourself totally focused on reveals how tremendous, stupendous, you might say, the state really is when you're nothing but emptiness. And somehow you're able to talk about shit. But if you could lose yourself in yourself by just imagine yourself turning around right in front of you by a few inches. And then when you're turned around and feeling and looking inside, both of those, you have to try both of those, feeling inside and looking inside. Doing that and just holding it. At some point, you identify the object you're looking at or trying to look at, which is your sense of self, of being alive. You can do it in the way I described. You can move your head around like this, and it gives you a whole different perspective of what it's like. Start feeling instead of seeing while you're looking around. Totally immersed in your body. Your body freezes. I don't mean that it's cold, but it stopped moving. I totally feel the entirety of my body and the me-ness, consciousness inside that. I'm now feeling like I'm sitting at the base of a huge mountain. My power feels like that. My body's becoming like the monolith, infused by spirit. An awareness of both inside and outside of my body. But when I go inside and I begin to feel astral-like energies, which are very powerful, and also illuminate my spine for me, as well as the rest of my body. So it's like seeing through the solidity of my body into the energy streams inside my body. I do both simultaneously. Now I can't go much further on describing that and this without disappearing altogether. but try it. Turn yourself around imaginatively, an inch or two away from your body where it is. And just relax. By becoming hollow, it feels like you're filled up with an ocean of energy. And if you concentrate on the energies, they'll grow solid. You don't have a mind anymore. There are no thoughts. But that heaviness on the inside, it tries to pull consciousness out of the head altogether and into the entirety of my sense of presence. And the feeling is just so delicious. You can use various words to describe it. But any way you do it, you can't really tell another person what it's like. But one of the things you do feel is very, very happy and very complete and self-satisfied. You feel like a rock, like Gibraltar. And your energy presence begins to transform from emptiness to nothingness. But even while this is happening, you feel total happiness and not the slightest urge to talk, just sitting by yourself, blind now because you're not looking at anything, with your eyes half open or closed. You just feel the totality of yourself and all the levels that you can feel within. The mind is gone, but you still feel and experience sensations. First, the expanding body makes me feel like the size of a house, sitting very comfortably. A huge granite block. There's not the slightest tendency to move. You don't sway anymore like you sometimes do in meditation. All that's gone. But there's just one totality of consciousness that wraps the physical into the visual. And it's a sound, it's a talking. And you can be this way for a minute or two before you pass into nothingness, where you're no longer aware of being aware. But your sense of power also increases and then begins to decrease as you lose touch with your body. But I can assure you, you'll never ever regret having this experience of being totally grounded into yourself. Your body by now is totally relaxed, and you may not be able to hear me anymore, or else it'll just be a sound in the background that has no meaning for you. The Jiki Jitsu commander of the sitting hall, Zendo, begins to disappear. The happiness begins to disappear. And then you're gone. You're alive, supposedly awake, and yet you experience nothing. There's something more than the experience of nothing that you feel. You feel the elation inside of you, like the life force had finally found something to do it really liked, which is to do nothing except be self-aware. And then you realize those stories you've read by purported meditation experts are true. And for a moment, you can believe what Robert said when he said, "You're not real. You don't exist." But it doesn't matter. You're happy. Feel it inside of you. The emptiness within. Feel how your body feels. Mine feels like I weigh 6,000 pounds or so. I'm sensitive to the gravity. And I used to do this for 5 or 6 hours a day. But then I wouldn't start feeling the state that I just described except until slightly before I went totally unconscious. And after I first leave unconsciousness, returning to this world, you begin to realize that all words spoken all descriptive things are concepts about things in the past. When you were 11, I looked in a dictionary. Maybe for the definition of that word bliss. You read things like the master said about his own existence and the nature of consciousness. Is, I feel the truth of that, but I don't fully understand it. That's how it is with most of us. I didn't meet Robert until 1988 or 89. I was maybe 40 years old at the time, or something like that. I'll recalculate it later and issue a correction. But this state of being centered on the totality of your own self, which now includes everything, including the unconsciousness. It's like nothing I had ever experienced before in life. The most amazing quality of it is a sense of completeness and peace. Just put your attention not on the external world, but on everything belonging to your inner world, including all of consciousness. You begin to have a feeling towards consciousness as being like your dearest friend. Your most beloved friend. Also, the energies you've felt and developed over time. You don't pay much attention to them anymore because it's no longer novel. But anyway, they freeze you. The cross. or your chair, or your bed, or wherever it is that you sit or lie. And the peace of nothingness just sweeps through you. And you feel such gratitude as to be able to feel such refined sweetness. Not a thought passes through your mind. Or if it does, it goes through so quickly you don't even note what it said specifically. You're now in the world before the world of spirituality. You're now the wisdom found in reading prior to consciousness, or about Ramana, or about Robert's inner state. As I and sure in hell was when I started my practice, looking for a teacher, not trusting myself to find out what I'm supposed to find out by looking within. Instead, I thought, this guy has been doing this for 50 years. Why don't I spend an hour feeling him out? Well, I did that. And I spent the next 8 years with Robert. One thing I can say about Robert is he was cute little old guy with his baseball cap on, his white beard. He even told me a couple of times I had to grow a beard. And I don't think I ever, well, yeah, I did early on. But recently, I've done nothing to encourage it. It just comes to me, takes me deep within. I'm not deep within now, really, because I'm distracted by the process of teaching here. And I decided to change it from the topic I was thinking about to repetitively trying to describe what it is that I experience in meditation before and afterwards. And then if I just stop long enough to get out of nothingness and maybe just focus on that lump of luminosity and feeling within, I'm in such bliss. But, that shouldn't be the reason you explore yourself. The search within should be done slowly, carefully, with full mindfulness. But understanding, you're not going to understand anything more. What'll happen to you is you will know a peace that you never thought possible. And then you also know about the world of nothingness, which the apparent world we see all the time appears and disappears depending on whether we're asleep or not. And even when we're awake, the different flavors of consciousness color and distort what we see. But we don't care. I told you about some of the stuff that happened to me at Mount Baldy. But what truly happened is I got to know myself much better, but at that time I didn't know it. It was an endless flow of different states, visual and auditory experiences. I'm trying to allow a little space and project to you what I'm experiencing. Maybe to motivate you. Or maybe you decide it's not worth it. You pack up your bags and go back to Cleveland. It's worth it. I was a kind of a smart kid. All A's. At that time, though, we used the letters O and F. But my kind of mind likes to jump around, go off on tangents. And try to understand what the fuck is happening. And realize I don't even mean that in a way I can express verbally. I feel more like the electronic repeater where the signal comes in weak. My function is as an amplifier. And I push it out the other end. But I look back at all the years I spent searching and not feeling well when I was doing it. But to find complete peace and loss of interest in the world. Yet, I feel compelled to teach because, for one thing, I hear of so very few people that talk about things the way I do, or Robert did, or Ramana did. And I know with Ramana, he gradually took over the Advaita teachings. And interpreted in the same way his teacher did. This is okay if you realize there's no truth in words. You can't run away to words to find the quietness of your own soul within. But to feel every ounce of my being is now roasting in divine light within and without. Now that experience is worth it. I also feel deeply that there's much more to do and ways to go. I think I was helped by very early acceptance that the Zen or the truth of Zen would free me. But I had no idea how pleasurable that fleeing could become. I also gained an increasing ability to go beyond the mind, actually before the mind, and to experience the world directly without being able to say a single fucking true word about what's going on here. The teachings of Nisargadatta and Ramana are great indeed. But the life of screwing around at the edges of consciousness. Brings all kinds of positive and negative changes. But in any event, you're much, much, much happier than before you began your spiritual task or drive. For one thing, you know all throughout you that you found it. The truth that frees you from the world. But at the same time, makes you feel so serene and complete that you can't feel even the slightest motivation to move. I remember at satsang at Mount Baldy. It was always a formal setting. There were certain chants to be chanted, certain ways that the motok and wood thing should be hit. And at Mount Baldy, I learned how to listen to the motok to gain some feeling about what the Burton striking the wooden gong was feeling. You tell by how the person timed spreading out his tapping on the block or the bell. You could tell by how he hit the bell, his internal state of quietness and accuracy. But I began noticing this. I noticed that so few people really knew how to hit the motok with full consciousness. The sound they make, it seems right on, as if that's the correct note, and it kind of moves you inside into a swoon. And you can hear whether that person heard in a deeper way than the others around that weren't sinking into samadhi. I don't think any words of encouragement I could give you. Except to go slow to be very thorough. Don't try complicated meditations using symbols or lines or anything like that, concentrating on them. Instead, just stay frozen and all the energies around you will be flowing through you. And you'll feel them. And at first, there's nothing else quite like it. But after a long while, you'll just feel them. And they'll tickle you inside, delight you. Are there any questions? Any observations? Adam, is that a scene from your yard?
It is.
I
But
like
it was nicer than looking at my ugly mug.
Yeah. What kind of, is that a German Shepherd?
Yep. Yeah, it's her yard. She loves it.
Mark, you have anything to say?
Not really, but I just want to comment that there's times when I go into beingness that there seems to be this pre-existing pull within myself, as if to say, this way, this way. And all I need to do is align with it and deepen into it, and it takes me further. So any comments on that?
That's my experience also.
Okay, cool.
You're doing well.
Thank you.
David, do you have anything to ask or say or criticize or call me a dumb fuck?
Hi, Edgy.
Hi. Where are you located?
In Adelaide in South Australia.
Wonderful.
Yeah. It's really early in the morning here. Been really enjoying hanging out with everyone.
Good. Keep
Listening.
coming back.
Thanks. Yeah, I will. Thank you.
And maybe next time I'll actually start satsang on time. Spencer, I haven't heard you talk in a long time.
My cat's diabetes went into remission, so he no longer requires insulin shots.
Really? Is your cat meditating?
What was that? I didn't hear what you said, sorry.
Oh, don't worry, it's just a joke. How old is your cat?
He's like 13 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had on Christmas Eve, he had an insulin overdose. I thought he was going to die. But it turns out that was probably because he didn't need it anymore. And so took him to the vet, and yeah, that's cool. I no longer have to inject him twice a day.
That's a good feeling. Where did you inject him? Behind the neck? Or near
Yep, on the scruff of the neck. It was pretty hard to do, so eventually I just ended up shaving his hair because he's a Russian blue mix. That made it a lot easier once I shaved his hair. But he didn't like it.
questions there for me. Statements.
Hey, Edgy, it's Jackson here.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering about Advaita Vedantas often talk about the I thought disappearing and then becoming in a state of only experiencing with no longer an experiencer, which is what you describe a lot.
Yeah.
But sometimes you describe going deeper and disappearing and almost
Yeah.
becoming to a no experience state, which they don't talk about quite as much. So it makes me think, like, how the hell could you describe to someone a no experienced state? And it seems impossible to help someone get there, which you seem to struggle with communicating your no experienced state. And is this a right interpretation?
That's absolutely right. It's the subtler you get, and you can experience, in a way, the dumber you feel. Because you don't give a fuck about those things anymore. It's like children's things I've put away. The mind, screw the mind. I can feel my whole body filled with these pouring of ecstasy, happiness. But I don't cling to them because the states come and go, and why prefer one over the other when they keep changing and going in and out, and so forth. But the prevailing state is of a great deal of happiness and of being very steady. The mind doesn't move around that much. It can rest and do nothing. And I love to do nothing. And that's not me of old. Me of old always had to be doing something. Let's spend about 5 minutes in silence. That's our little guy in the background. Wanting Karima to open the door to the bedroom so he can get in and go to bed there. Oh, cats love that bed, as do I. I've got a book of Nisargadatta's teachings. I think the title is The Experience of Nothingness. I would post it for all of you to read, but it would be better for you to actually find it for yourself and to read it by yourself. That could be done in conjunction with our meetings or entirely separately. I'm trying to get that book. It's short, one of the shorter ones of Nisargadatta. And I don't know what's in it yet. I thought maybe we could all read it together. Nothingness is everything.
It's only 3 pages.
Say that?
It's only empty pages.
I can't hear you. Your voice is muddled. Yell it louder. Maybe that'll make it perfect. Just kidding. Okay. Practice this way a lot. Realize in yourself there's this drive to understand the basic nature of existence and your place in that existence. Recognize too that the people that don't understand this are not that interesting to be around. And that you seek the company of those who are along the same path of exploring one's own self and to realize the nature of consciousness, the physical body, the world, etc. When I was a kid, up until the time I was about 70, I always felt I had to work hard in order to understand myself and the world. But that's not really true. That was the drive within me to escape from the ennui of knowing nothing. You feel so uplifted by the energies that the belief system, the understanding means nothing. And yet the understanding comes. I love you all. Please come again. Bye-bye. Mark, do you want to take over?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.